This is a big surprise, and it doesn't change history, but it adds a chapter to history which we didn't know it exists before.
For more than 12,000 years, people believed that Göbekli Tepe was simply an ancient temple built by early hunter-gatherers. It was seen as a primitive site, nothing more than a place for rituals. But that idea no longer tells the full story. Because what if this place was never just a temple? What if something much older and far more dangerous was hidden beneath it all along? When scientists finally began deeper excavations, they uncovered something unexpected. A sealed space buried beneath the structure, untouched since the Ice Age. What lay inside didn't match any known purpose of a temple. This wasn't just a ceremonial site. It appeared to be something carefully designed, almost like a barrier, built to hide or contain something. That raised a serious question. Why would ancient people go to such extreme lengths to bury something so deep underground? And more importantly, what were they trying to keep hidden? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. The mystery starts with a hill that didn't seem natural. From a distance, it looked ordinary. Dry soil, scattered rocks, and patches of weeds. Nothing about it stood out. For years, experts ignored it because it didn't seem important. But one detail kept bothering researchers. The shape of the hill looked artificial, as if it had been built up over time instead of forming naturally. In the early 1990s, a German archaeologist, Klaus Schmidt, decided to take a closer look. As he examined the area, he noticed something unusual. Stones with smooth surfaces and sharp edges that didn't match natural formations. It felt deliberate. So he began digging. What he uncovered changed everything. Massive stone pillars emerged from the ground, followed by more, all arranged in large circular patterns. Each pillar was carved from limestone and decorated with detailed images of animals, foxes, snakes, vultures, along with symbols that still remain unexplained. This was clearly not random. It was planned, precise construction at a time when humans were not believed to have the skills to build anything this advanced. Radiocarbon dating later revealed that the site was over 11,000 years old, older than Stonehenge, older than the Egyptian pyramids, and older than the first known cities. That discovery created a major mystery. How did people with no metal tools, no writing, and no advanced technology managed to carve and transport stones weighing tons? This wasn't just a settlement. It didn't look like a place people lived. It felt more like something intentional, something built with a purpose beyond daily life, almost like a message left behind in stone. But the real question is, what was that message trying to warn us about? For more than 12,000 years, everyone thought Göbekli music was just an ancient temple built by simple hunter-gatherers, nothing more. But what if that wasn't true? What if something far older, far more dangerous was buried beneath it? When scientists' music began digging, they discovered a sealed chamber beneath, untouched since the Ice Age. And what they found inside didn't match anything anyone expected. It wasn't just a temple or a ceremonial site. It was a structure carefully designed to contain something hidden away from the world. But why would such a complex structure be built so deep underground? And most importantly, what were they trying to protect? To understand this, music, we need to go back to how it all began. The unusual hill. The mystery began with a hill that should not have been there at all. Göbekli looked ordinary from far away. Dry soil, scattered rocks, a few weeds, nothing unusual. Most experts ignored it for years because it seemed empty. But one question remained. Why did this hill look like it had been built up instead of formed by nature? In the early 1990s, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt decided to investigate. He noticed stones with flat edges and smooth curves. They did not look natural. Something in the ground felt planned. So, he began to dig. Soon, large stone pillars appeared, then more, all arranged in circles. Each pillar was made of limestone and carved with foxes, snakes, vultures, and symbols that had no clear meaning. This was not a simple sight. It was intentional construction at a time when humans were not expected to build anything, music this complex. Radiocarbon tests later showed the site was more than 11,000 years old, older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, older than the first cities. This created a major problem. How did early hunter-gatherers lift stones heavier than trucks? How did they carve detailed figures without metal tools or writing? The site did not look like a village or a home. It looked more like a message left in stone. But what could that message be? To answer that question, music researchers turned their attention to the people who created it, and what they uncovered slowly changed the direction of the entire investigation. The buried pillars. Once the first pillars came out of the soil, the team understood they were not looking at a normal site. These stones were arranged with planning and care. Each pillar stood in a fixed position, as if the builders had followed a clear design. More circular enclosures appeared as digging continued. Some were wide, others small, but all shared the same pattern. Every pillar was shaped like a tall T and carved with animals that lived in the region. Foxes, snakes, cranes, and wild boars covered the surfaces. The carvings were steady and exact, which showed skill far beyond what simple tools should allow. This raised a basic question. How did people with no metal farming or writing shape stones this perfectly? Archaeologists expected to find metal tools, but none were present. Only basic stone tools were discovered. Yet the cuts on the pillars were smooth and even. The quality did not match the tools. There were no signs of daily life either. No homes, no cooking areas, and no waste pits. This suggested the hill was not a village. It was a place people visited for music-specific tasks, not for living. Another detail surprised the team. The pillars seemed buried on purpose. Soil, bones, broken tools, music, and stones filled the spaces between the rings. It looked like the builders used each enclosure for a time and then covered it completely before starting a new one. This happened again and again across the site. But why would they put so much work into a structure only to bury it later? Some experts thought the burial might be part of a ceremony. Others believed it was a practical choice connected to climate changes seen in the soil layers. Sharp drops in temperature and sudden shifts in rainfall suggested a period of stress. But even this did not explain the accuracy and repeated sealing. These pillars showed a clear intention. The builders weren't just creating something, they were hiding music something too. And soon the truth became clearer when the team reached the layer beneath the pillars. Because the objects they found there didn't belong to any normal construction. The builder's secret. As the team explored the layers around the pillars, they found items that did not belong in normal daily life. These included bone tools, shaped stones, and small carved pieces. The objects suggested that the builders followed a clear system instead of working randomly. The carvings across the site showed repeating symbols. The same animals and shapes appeared in several enclosures. Their positions were planned, not accidental. This level of order suggested organized thinking and shared knowledge. This raised important questions. How did early groups create such detailed plans without writing? How did they organize large teams with only simple tools? The stone pillars also showed unusual craftsmanship. Many weighed more than 50 tons. Quarry marks proved that the builders cut them from nearby rock, shaped them, and carried them to the top of the hill. Even today, this would require planning and coordination. For early humans, it was unexpected. But another detail stood out. Human figures were almost entirely missing. Most carvings focused on animals. Many animals were shown in active or alert positions. Researchers believed these designs might represent danger, stories, or warnings. Music. Climate records also showed that the region faced sudden changes during that period. Music cooling weather, droughts, and shrinking food sources might have pushed communities to gather and create shared structures. But this idea did not explain everything. The skill level, the repeated burial of structures, and the lack of living spaces, music suggested that Göbekli had a purpose beyond ritual or gathering. One idea slowly formed. The builders might have been preserving old knowledge, not creating new traditions. They may have been one of the last groups that remembered something important from an earlier time. This idea grew stronger when researchers reached a deeper layer and uncovered carved pieces arranged with care. Their positions hinted that the builders had a reason for placing them exactly where they did, the stone tablets. Below the filled layers, the team found a flat surface made from tightly placed limestone slabs. At first, it looked like a floor, but once the stones were lifted, something unexpected appeared. Underneath the slabs were rows of small flat tablets placed side by side. These tablets, music, were not random pieces of rock. Each one was shaped the same way, showing careful work. They were arranged in neat rows, almost like pages in a book that had been closed and hidden. When the tablets were cleaned, faint carvings became visible. Some carvings were simple lines. Others showed figures or symbols. Parts were scratched off, and faces on human shapes had their eyes removed. The cuts were sharp and intentional, not the result of weather or age. Why would someone carve these symbols and then try to erase parts of them later? The tablets had been heated twice. The builders wanted them to last, music, or wanted to hide something beneath the top layer. Scanning tests revealed faint shapes under the surface. These hidden marks did not match the outer carvings. Some symbols under the seal looked like early forms of writing. A few shapes repeated across several tablets. Some experts thought they represented ideas such as bind, hold, or watch, but the pattern suggested the builders were sending a warning or recording something important that they did not want lost. One tablet showed a human figure between two curved lines that looked like rivers. Above it was a short mark that some scholars read as sleepers below. If the reading was correct, it hinted at something buried beneath the hill. As the tablets were mapped and compared, researchers noticed that their arrangement formed a directional pattern. When that pattern was placed on a site map, it pointed toward the center of the main ring. The tablets were not only records, they might have been a guide. With that possibility in mind, the researchers began studying the ground in the direction the tablets indicated, expecting that the next layer of evidence would come from the location the builders had quietly marked, the hidden passage. Using the direction suggested by the stone tablets, the team scanned the ground beneath the central ring. The results showed something unexpected. Deep under the platform was a hollow space. It was too smooth and too symmetrical to be a natural cave. Its shape suggested construction. Excavation began slowly. Workers removed the soil layer by layer. As they dug deeper, the structure became clearer. The opening was not a simple pit. It was the music top of a carved shaft. The walls were made from bedrock, music, and each section showed the same spacing and angle. At first it looked like part of a wall, but as more soil was cleared, a pattern formed. It was a staircase. The steps spiraled down in a tight circle cut directly into the stone. The surfaces were smooth and straight, showing a level of precision far above what early tools should achieve. This raised an important question. How did the builders carve a perfect staircase into solid rock? Some researchers said it came music from deep minerals. Others believed it was air-trapped for thousands of years. Either explanation confirmed that the passage had been sealed since ancient times. The team lit their lamps and moved down the steps. The walls showed no paintings or decoration, music only clean tool marks. This suggested a functional purpose rather than a ritual one. Halfway down, a solid wall of mud brick blocked music the path. There were no gaps or weak points. It looked like a deliberate seal. Tests showed traces of mercury in the bricks. This was uncommon, but not unknown. Mercury was sometimes used as a protective measure or boundary marker. This finding made one point clear. The builders did not intend for anyone to pass this barrier easily. Removing the bricks took 2 days. When the final brick, music, was lifted, air moved upward quickly. It fogged the equipment and made the chamber feel colder. At the bottom was a room carved directly into the bedrock. The walls were rounded and smooth. All carvings pointed downward instead of outward. It did not look like a ritual site. Music. It looked like a location built for a specific purpose. The team realized they were standing inside the upper section of a larger structure. But why would anyone build something so deep underground? What were they trying to protect? To understand why this space was shaped and sealed so carefully, the researchers began studying the stone directly beneath the chamber floor. The vault at the center of the chamber directly, music, beneath the 2 tall pillars. The team noticed a section of floor that did not match the rest. The stone surface was slightly raised and had faint seams around the edges. When sensors were placed on top, they detected unusual vibration patterns. To investigate, the team marked the seams and began removing the floor piece by piece. As the first slab came loose, the vibrations grew stronger, then suddenly stopped. When the dust settled, a new structure appeared below. It was a large square surface made of metal, not stone. Yet this surface looked welded and sealed. There were no hinges or openings. It did not look like a door. Symbols were carved across the top. They were deeper and more complete than the ones on the tablets. A spiral pattern circled the center, drawing music attention to the middle square. This raised a new question. What were the builders trying to protect? The first attempt to open the vault used diamond drills. They barely scratched the surface. The metal resisted music every tool. When the seal finally broke, a wave of cold air rushed out. A small camera was lowered inside. The chamber below was larger than expected. The walls were covered in a black layer made from bitumen, mercury, and ground minerals. It showed that the builders were not preserving the content, but isolating it. As the camera moved, shapes came into view. At first, they looked like carvings, but under ultraviolet light, the truth was clearer. The shapes were human outlines fused into the metal. The marks were carbon and calcium, which meant real bodies had been pressed and burned against the walls during the sealing process. This was not a burial. It was an emergency action. In the center stood a stone platform with hardened resin. The ropes on top showed signs of burning. This suggested that something had been tied down and burned before the vault was closed. Next to the platform was a statue. The figure looked twisted, music, as if frozen in pain. The surface had vein-like lines that made it appear newly formed. It was placed after the sealing, likely by survivors who wanted to leave a final message about what happened. The deeper the team looked, the more the vault seemed built for containment rather than ceremony. Every detail pointed to a careful effort to lock something away. The final warning. After examination, the vault was sealed again for safety, music, and the team examined every record they had gathered. They reviewed the symbols from the chamber walls, the carvings above the site, and the marks on the stone tablets. Many symbols looked unclear at first, but when placed side by side, a pattern slowly formed. The symbols appeared in short groups, almost like basic sentences. Linguists compared them to early writing from nearby regions. Some marks looked similar to ancient Anatolian signs. Others shared elements with early Proto-Sumerian shapes, even though those writing systems came much later. These lines were not prayers. They were explanations. They described actions taken by the builders and why the vault had been created. The builders believed something. Music underground produced heat. They tried to isolate it, not worship it. The evidence inside the vault supported this idea. The burned human outlines, the metal chamber fused into the rock, the chemical layers and the airtight construction all pointed toward containment. The builders were responding to a threat they could not control. Climate studies from the same period showed major environmental changes. Some experts suggested that whatever the builders found might have appeared during this unstable time. It could have been a natural reaction from deep underground. The exact source remained unknown. What was clear is that the builders chose to trap music, it rather than destroy it. Many workers died during this process. The survivors covered the vault, filled the hill, and created layers that made digging difficult. Gobese was not designed as a temple. It was used as a barrier. This discovery changed the entire perspective on the site. Gobese music might not mark the start of civilization. It might show the first human attempt to control a dangerous natural force. The builders understood enough science to isolate pressure, gas, and chemical reactions. Their goal was protection. Their final message was direct. Do not open what we closed. And yet, even after uncovering so much about the site, a chilling question remains. How much did the builders truly understand? Had they contained something they barely grasped or something they feared would never be controlled? Every symbol, every layer of stone, every chemical barrier hints at knowledge lost to time. Knowledge that modern humans are only beginning to glimpse. Göbekli Tepe is no longer just an ancient site. It is a reminder that early humans understood danger in ways we never expected. They found something they could not explain, sealed it, and buried it to protect the future. Their message was clear. Some things are meant to stay underground. So, what do you think the builders were warning us about? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, ensure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we will be uploading more crazy stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see you.